and such. But what we came up with this is a temporary pool enclosure, which is, if you want to envision it, I kind of think of like a swap meet or a farmer's market. These are kind of like the tents that you put up at those. But obviously it's $1.9 million for that. Now I'm going to preface this with, because it's an old building, already construction structure, none of these options can actually connect to the building. So say you wanted to have the enclosure connected to the bathhouse so you could shower, change in your swimsuit and come out into the pool. None of these can do that. So this option is you have to go outside to get inside the pool. Does that make sense?
Like a standalone.
Yeah, it's standalone on it. And we were informed that a temporary structure, you have to take it down. You cannot leave it up. It costs $50,000 to pay to have it taken down and reset up every year. So that option, I don't know. A permanent cover on the pool was 2.6. This would be a structure that you cannot take down. It would eliminate the outdoor pool effect, making it an indoor pool. And then the granddaddy of them all, which is a retractable pool cover, was 3.7. Again, I want to preference that is even in that cost, you still have to have a standalone cover over the pool, not connected to a building. Okay? So go on into the indoor rec. These figures were kind of established using a template of the indoor rec center that I recently constructed at my previous job, which was a multi-court, 4 multiple courts that were able to change from basketball to volleyball to pickleball, archery, futsal, which is indoor soccer. 4 courts that had separate curtains so you could divide them off. It had meeting rooms, offices, party rooms, such like that. So that was what this was patterned off of. And with your site work, your building, it came to $12.9 million. And as we talked, last time I was here, we talked about outdoor pickleball. We would also like to add outdoor courts to in the vicinity of this rec center, and an outdoor basketball court. Do a skate park expansion, which brought it up to 3.7. This would provide, for the picklers, this would provide 6 outdoor courts, and the indoor facility would actually be able to make 8 courts. So.
Do you mean 13.7?
Yeah, you said 13.7.
Oh, I'm sorry, 13.7.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, okay, so that would be an indoor standalone building, and the site we were doing this on, if you know Millennium Park, it's where the skate park is, kind of that big open area where it's kind of a hodgepodge of basketball courts, skate park and volleyball. It fits right in there. So after we kind of went through the Bunny Davis and the indoor rec, I asked John, I said, let's kind of think, not really outside the box, but let's look at this another way. Why don't we try, let's see what we can do to put them all together. This is be an indoor rec center, 4 multiple courts, and a pool in one building. So that number 5 option on that is an indoor recreation center with an aquatic facility that is enclosed, so it's not an outdoor pool. Kind of all bang for your buck. One facility, that came to $21.6 million. And then option 6, which was very intriguing to me, this is the same thing, an indoor recreation center with 4 multiple courts and a retractable aquatic facility. So that's the granddaddy. That's the actual retractable roof that would open up, and you'd have an outdoor pool. And the caveat with this is, because it's new construction, it can be built into the structure. It does connect to the building. So if it's winter this time of year, the pool cover's closed. The locker rooms are inside the building. You're not going outside to get into the pool. It's all in one. If that makes any sense. That is the option. And of course, we wanted to add the outdoor pickleball courts also, outdoor basketball court, and skate expansion, which adds $725,000 to that 1,900 total. Okay, those are options that we all reviewed. I also want to add a current state that we are in our basketball program that is just beginning. We have, in all of Boyle County, we have 61 basketball teams registered, signed up, and we have 10 cheer squads.
What's the age?
Age
up and down?
from kindergarten to seniors in high school, so all ages. So if you want to do some quick math on that, that's 61 teams. If they're playing twice a week, that means we have to find sites to host 61 games a week. We currently do that at the Ginny Rogers, which we operate, and we kindly partner with the school districts to use some of their facilities for those games. As the school, and this is no slight to the schools because they are serving their constituents. There are so many, as when we all grew up, there was very few sports. Now there's archery, there's dance teams, there's bowling teams. They are having to use their facilities to house all of their programs. So we are losing gym space to this problem. Just this year, we've been informed from Junction City, we were able to use the elementary school six nights a week. We are only able, which was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we are only able to use that gym on Friday and Saturday. So we lost 4 nights a week there. We use Tolliver, and we used to use Tolliver 6 nights a week. We've lost a night at Tolliver. We used to use Woodlawn 5 days a week. So this year we were informed we've lost 2 nights. We were only able to do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday there. So we are in desperate need for gym space. So it is time to consider some of these options. The way this, if we were able to have an indoor recreation facility like this with 4 courts, what that does is 61 teams, 2 nights a week, we would be able to do that on 2 courts in the multi-purpose rec center and at Ginny Rogers. So we're using 3 courts a night. What this does is it leaves 2 courts open to the public at all times. So what that means is if we're running basketball games from January through March, we are able to still say we are open to the public. We don't have to shut the rec center down for 3 months in the obvious times you would need it. So that is how that would be operational and still serve the public.
Tommy, are you using Ginny Rogers for any of the basketball now?
Yes,
Okay.
it's
How many
every night.
Every night, okay. I
3
didn't have-
nights, 3 games a night, every weeknight, and then we do 6 on Saturday.
So 6 nights a week for Ginny Rogers.
6 nights a
Okay.
week, Ginny
Junction
Rogers.
City 2, Tolliver 5, Woodlawn 3, and Ginny Rogers 6.
Right, and then we also do Perryville. Perryville is the only school that didn't change our nights, so we use Perryville all the time.
6 nights?
Yep.
Okay.
So with that said, I'm going to introduce Mark Morgan, who is the board chair. They diligently went through all these numbers, had a great discussion on Wednesday, and he's going to tell you what their findings and recommendations that we actually presented to the Danville Commission last night. It was well received, and as partners, we're presenting it to you also tonight.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good to
Hello,
see
Mark.
Good to see you all. Thanks for having us. Jason, Magistrate Cullen, was at our meeting last week. County Administrator Wagner was there, and we appreciate that attendance. I spoke with Magistrate Cullen afterwards, and he was complimentary of the process. He was complimentary of the decision. Obviously, we all know Jason, he will speak for himself, so I am not going to presume to put words in his mouth, but I can report it was very gratifying to hear how complimentary he was of both the process and the decision. Before the meeting, just to give you a little background, I went around Jenny Rogers. I've been in there many, many times, and I encourage each of you to go in when you have a moment, because you will be proud of Danville, you will be proud of Boyle County. It is a good facility. I went in one classroom in Ag Extension, Althea from Ag Extension, or Alethea, I think it is, Alethea, was teaching. I said, Alethea, what are you teaching? She said, we're teaching these kids, and there were about 15, and half boys, half girls. Said, we're teaching them how to make rice, chicken, and mushroom dinner. And I said, well, that's smart. And then I went in another room. Kids were playing air hockey and foosball, and they were talking to each other. They didn't have their phones out. They weren't on their phones. They were having a face-to-face conversation. I saw males and females getting along, not in an inappropriate way, but in a very appropriate way. And as Commissioner Bodner knows, my wife and I used to be involved with track, and there were, these opportunities where kids can really be together are valuable. Every room was full. There were kids doing art, there were kids playing basketball. It was just really good. So that's the type of things that Parks and Rec are bringing to our community. That being said, I think that explains why I've been willing to volunteer to be part of the Parks and Rec Committee. And we're talking, you may recall, July 1st, 2020, the Parks and Rec Committee was formed by a memorandum of agreement between this governing body and its sister body, the City Commission. And under that, the committee was formed. And we were tasked, many of us used to be on the Parks Board, and we were tasked with advising you. We're a conduit, we're supposed to serve as a conduit to allow you, when you have to appropriate your funds or bond your funds or take any step for a capital improvement, we're supposed to provide you with, in a shorthand way, the community's will regarding that project. So we take that very seriously, and when you look at the makeup of our committee, it's 7 members, then we have half county, half city, and then I'm joint. I'm appointed by both and serve as chair. We draw from different demographics, and if you notice, I'm the oldest person, which isn't, at my age, that's not hard to be. And there are some younger people who are younger than our 3 kids. There are people representing different races. There are people with kids. There are people with grandkids. All of us love Parks and Rec. We have 2 coaches, 2 former ball coaches, traditional coaches on the committee. And we feel like the will of our committee represents the will of Boyle County. And I'm not bragging when I say that, but we've been really intentional about the makeup of the committee and the process of following the memorandum of agreement that you all entered into in 2020. When we met, we took into account Bear Becker's estimates. We also conducted the meeting. Normally we conduct it with hear the public at the beginning and the end. And this one we conducted a little bit differently, and I freelanced a little bit because we had members of the pickleball committee there. We had a former Parks and Rec director who preceded Tommy, and I can't say enough good about Tommy. We are fortunate to have him in our community. But I tried to do it where we didn't allow anybody to hijack our meeting, But at the same time, I tried to make it where we could have a little input for those people who took the time to come to our meeting. And that gives me even more confidence because I've heard from those people afterwards, and they stated they were very supportive of what we decided and what we're bringing to you. That means, and our vote was a consensus vote, it was 100% in alignment. That tells me that I can confidently tell you that if you take the appropriations that are available to you through our system of revenue for you and/or bonding, that you can tell your constituency in good faith that the committee that's appointed to represent our county have spoken and you've heard them, and that you're responding to that, and you're not just freelancing, so you can have confidence in that. What our committee decided, we took into account a lot of things. When we have a rec ball game in Perryville and a rec ball game in Junction, we have to have staff there. You have to have different staff there and refs there and so on and so forth. If we had a consolidated indoor rec facility, then you could have a staff member and refs, and they could cover a lot of things. You get economies of scale and efficiencies. And I know from running a business in Boyle County for decades that your capital expenditures, I always made sure that we spent money on capital expenditures. Everyone in our office had the best we could buy. We were ahead of the curve on spending money on capital expenditures if it increased labor efficiency. And labor is where you can see money disappear inefficiently if you don't have the right capital to support them. Right now, Parks and Rec is spread around, and that is appealing in some ways because it gets us out in the county, but it's very inefficient long-term. So the committee took that into account. The committee looked at all the numbers, and a lot of us, I know Joe Marie was present and Joni and I were when the Agora Club was built, which is now Bunny Davis, and Tim and Margaret, most of you know them, built that with about a 10-15 year time horizon in mind for that. And it's to your credit and the City Commission's credit that it's still functioning at a very high level, and it's very good. I hear a lot of negatives about the Bunny Club, but it's very good. And it's to all of our county's credit that we've kept it going as well as we have. But it was not built, the bones, the original bones of that had a short horizon instead of a long horizon, and we are doing a great job, but it still has those bones. So, what the consensus was that we voted, we first said, which is the top priority? An indoor rec facility or enhanced aquatics? And everybody said indoor rec facility. That has emerged as a burning need for the reasons you've heard today in our community, and we think it's time to meet it. We finally had consensus that we think the best outcome is for us to build jointly, city and county, to build an indoor rec facility with indoor and outdoor basketball, indoor and outdoor pickleball, indoor and outdoor volleyball, have an outdoor pool with an extended season by having a retractable roof and the capacity to heat the water when necessary. And we went a little further than Bear Becker did, and they had a mandate when they did their study on where to look and what to consider. And I know this steps on some toes, but we had consensus on this. When you drive into the fairgrounds, there is rubble where there used to be stands and track and different facilities, tractor pulls and all that. That rubble has been there, in our opinion, too long. If we're going to be really addressing the long-term needs of our county, then it's time that we placed it there. This would be the front door of Millennium Park, which is beautiful. Putting it up in the area where the skate park is now and the outdoor basketball, that changes the aesthetics of Millennium Park. And I'm not talking touchy-feely, I'm talking about so many people have told me how beautiful our park is. They love it, they love seeing it, they can see the whole thing at one time, and putting an indoor rec facility there alters that. Putting it at the fairgrounds where the rubble is and addressing these needs, that this needs to be dealt with anyway, at one time, makes a great deal of sense to the committee. We had consensus on that. And
Now that's the land that the county owns.
well, what
You're
we
not-
thought, the county owns
We own
White's Park. You own White's
Right,
Park.
Right.
The majority is
So I'm
not.
trying to
And
understand where you're
city.
putting it.
And you own half, jointly, not half, but jointly, the footprint of Millennium Park.
Right.
The
But
fairgrounds.
the majority of the fairgrounds is owned by the city.
That's correct. And we think that we need to, it's time for us to come together. This is what the committee decided. It's time for us to come together and become one Millennium Park. White's Park, Fairgrounds, Millennium Park should all be jointly owned. You all, we prevail upon you as leaders in our community to rise up and do that. Meet that challenge that you've appointed us as a committee to say what your constituents want, and we're telling you what we want. That's what we want. You all work it out, because you're the leaders, we're not.
Well, I just want to say thank you to the committee for coming up with recommendations. I know it's been a lot of hard work. You can tell by all the detail, the numbers, that you all have looked at each and everything and considered each and every project. So thank you to the committee for doing that. From what you read a while ago, which option is the committee,
6 and 7.
6 and 7? Okay.
6 and 7 is what they had consensus on.
So that is the committee
but-
recommendation.
But located at the fairgrounds is the choice of the committee.
Okay, have we had any consideration to apply for grant funding? Have we had any consideration of bringing community partners in?
There's a lot of consideration for community partners.
Okay,
Obviously, the hospital's been considered, and Tommy has a history of getting sponsorships in his work in Muhlenberg County, and he was successful in that, and travel ball, and making this more income revenue generating. There are a lot of options for that. That was beyond the scope of the work of the committee to address that. I can only pass forward things that we've heard discussed,
sure,
and yes, that those have been discussed.
sure. Master Gay.
Thank you, Mark and committee and Tommy and everybody and John and your crew. for all the work that's been done on this. I guess being like officially now old enough, I used to be the young guy in the room, but I'm gaining on the old guy in the room.
Hey,
Except for Tom. I see us being pretty much where we were when we needed to do Millennium Park. And being an old guy, I was there for that as well. And so it's time for this community, and I think this community deserves and wants this next step in Parks and Rec. And our Parks and Rec group is doing everything they can, putting Band-Aids on as quick as they can to keep us where we are.
Keep going.
And to have as many teams and young people participating is amazing. And I think with the resources, they can do more. All that said, I do think that we really need to explore what all the funding options are, meaning everything from, I know we're limited and the laws are against us in some ways, but everything from a restaurant tax to Parks and Rec as a taxing district to, a vote similar to what they had in Lexington. I think we need to let the people, we need to put something, whatever we legally can, on the ballot and work like the Dickens to let the people know that if this is what they want and deserve, and I think as not only our community deserves it for all of us, but we are our regional hub of 150,000 people counting our 5 surrounding counties. And whether they admit it or not, this is where they shop, this is where they eat, this is where they recreate. And so we need to be that. And so I guess I'm to the point where it's time to take this next step. It really is. We need to, as leaders, as they've said, find a way to get it done. Do we have it in our own coffers right now? No. But is it within our tax base? Yes. So I think that we really need to look at all those different options to get this done.
Definitely, we definitely need to explore that and just see how many options are available and what we can use to generate funding.
Right, because again, and the other thing is that, there's obviously this initial cost, but as we've talked about manpower and everything, there's obviously going to be ongoing
Maintenance, yeah.
all the time.
costs.
Lots of
And
maintenance.
so that's where we need an ongoing revenue stream
Yes,
to keep this going and to expand on what we're doing and continue to make it even better.
Well, I'm comforted to hear that, because that's what your options and what you've expressed with what we heard last night also. All those options. And as Parks and Rec, if we can't come together, and I'm not saying we got the money tomorrow, but I'm saying what I will do all I can to market this project, to explore all sponsorships, naming rights, donations, and grant applications, and as you said, some of the other considerations are on the table also. So the other good thing is I'm experienced in the operations of this type of facility, the logistics that go into it. I've been through it, and I've seen the outcome of it, which is it's a gloriful the way it becomes a community hub. I can say the economic impact the travel tournaments do is just crazy. I mean, you're talking, we would do 40 to 50 teams basketball tournaments over the weekend, and the facility alone would profit just in concessions $6,000 to $7,000 a weekend, plus the rental fees. Plus they're all out at Chick-fil-A, they're down at Copper and Oak, they're in the hotels in town. So it not only affects the local quality of life, it impacts the region immensely in all aspects.
I think it's really exciting. I mean, I like what they've done in Elizabethtown, where they created all those soccer fields and baseball fields, and when I've gone to soccer tournaments there, like, it's always packed. So I think that's real neat. One thing I would say is, before moving on to a new project, I wish you guys would finish up what you started at the tennis court, because there's like areas on the lower courts where it's ready to just put the lighting
Light
in
on,
there,
yeah.
you know, so like, well, don't move on to another project till you finish the other. I mean, it just, and also I would say, I think that all like racket sports ought to be together, because instead of like putting the racket over there with the skateboard.
Right.
Because I've just been there I was there at the tennis courts before, and there's like some guy and he's, you know, they're never satisfied skating in the skate park. They're gonna go somewhere else. They're skating there on the tennis courts, and had to run some people off. And I could just see that happening. Also, skaters moving over to the pickleball courts, if you know they're right next to it. Maybe that crew also. It's different kinds of people, younger people. I don't know if they would. I think all racket people get along pretty well. I just don't know, like basketball people and skateboard people, if that would be a good combination of people.
But you're talking about doing 6 and 7 at fairgrounds.
Yes, and it would put the pickleball courts next to the tennis.
Which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just wanted to say.
Yeah,
I hope you could finish.
And in this indoor building, you are able to do 8 pickleball courts. So because you have two pickleball courts per gym, so you would have 6 outside. You would have 8 inside. I've had the picklers in my office, and quite frankly have laid this option on the table, and they were very supportive. They were behind it. It's kind of why you don't see them here today as they were at the last meeting. So we are all kind of behind this recommendation. And like I said, as Parks and Recs, we will do everything we can to get that price down and raise what we can. The initial steps we were talked about last night, the city kind of throwing some options that we need to do some research, we need to look at some, we need to get a plan of action, and as the mayor says, we won't get those donors and sponsors unless they know we are committed to see this project
That is
through.
true. That is
And as they say, it takes money to make money. You know, so I don't know what that means. As in, do we form a task force with maybe some magistrates on it, maybe some commissioners on it, that we kind of come together to see this to fruition and to discuss options and how to go about it. That's on the table, but the first step was presenting this and giving you what we feel the community needs.
Well, thank
I'll
you
be
for the
happy to serve on
presentation.
that task force, by
Yeah.
the way.
I don't think
I will
we're
too.
ready to dismiss this.
Master Ellis.
This is gonna sound like a contrarian view, and I've been at many of the meetings. I'm chair of the jail
We
committee.
appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm chair of the jail committee, and our deficiencies there are glaring. I almost hate to say that and put it on the record for the consequential issues that could come from that. But we're going to be spending a tremendous amount of money to update our jail facility. Our convenience center relocation of, not the centers, but the actual works of what we do once everything's brought in is going to be expensive. Our public works is going to be moving. We're talking multi-million-dollar circumstances that we face. One thing, Tommy, that you said is kind of fascinating to me, and I hope you can reconcile this issue. If it takes courts all over the community right now to play 61 teams of basketball, would this accommodate 61 teams of basketball?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it would still have room to be open to the public.
That's helpful. Two of us have constituents who would be anywhere from 8 to 16, 17 miles away. We have extraordinary gyms in those very places that you're talking about that are being used, and there's a balance between the cost of staff and recruiting referees, which is getting harder and harder every day because of discipline problems, which I'll acknowledge. But to move kids away from down the block 2 miles away in Perryville, for example, in my district, and similar in Junction City, to having to find a way from the other side of Junction, from the other side of Perryville, from the other side of Forkland, of those 9,000 plus constituents, that's a significant concern to me
There's
as
kids
well.
that
I'm gonna counteract that, Tom, because
I want you to.
what also you have is you could have a kindergartner playing in Perryville, and you could have your 5th grader playing in Junction City, and there's no way you can be at both places at once. At this facility, they would all be at it, so you would be able to, I've seen it happen. I've seen it where a dad is sitting between the two curtains and he's watching his kindergartner at this court and he's watching his 5th grader at that court. So there's pluses and minuses all over the place, but that
And
It's
I
just not
genuinely-
kids from those communities that are playing in those schools, though. You got
No,
Danville
correct.
kids coming to Perryville.
Yes.
You got Danville kids going to Junction.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
not just those kids in those
I
communities.
understand,
right.
and I appreciate that, and that is very helpful.
And Forkland kids, you know,
The
so it's all the
overriding
same.
issue, and with the greatest respect in saying this, I would wager that the vast majority of the public, while you're getting good feedback and you were open to the public being at the meetings, the vast majority of the public probably has zero understanding that we're talking about a 1 million, a 2 million, a 3 million. No, take everything, and I'm always looking at the high end of things because I know I've built things in the past, and you're looking at somewhere between 20 and 21.8 total $1 million, when community folks are going to be surprised when they hear $2 million.
A couple of.
And a jail.
Judge, if I would like to say that I would be more than happy to serve on a task force with members of our other governing bodies in an effort to explore what all of our different funding
Right.
options are.
We're not ready to make any decisions today.
Correct.
This is just the committee coming and giving us a proposal and what the committee has voted on that they think would be the best route for city county to go forward.
This body asked us to make our recommendations and find out and assist you in finding out what your constituents, representatives of your constituencies want. We have brought you that information. I'm confident about that. From this information, layouts, designs, illustrations can be produced, and I've raised substantial money in the past to assist Boyle County schools and different reasons. And it's always easier if you have a well-designed plan with some sort of campaign illustration and diagrams than if you are just using words to paint something amorphous that everybody interprets differently. And now we've tried to bring you something concrete. I want to also quickly share that when Tommy was in Muhlenberg County, he had a contractor who came in substantially lower. That contractor has worked in Bowling Green, that contractor has worked in Lebanon. So finding, it's not just a matter of the highest, it may be a matter of competitively bidding this as well as fundraising with a campaign that's tangible and concrete. So there are a lot of, we're just delivering so you have the information so you can confidently say that you heard from your constituents.
My
We can
fondest
take
dream
this.
would be that we could accomplish this.
I like that we've brought an exact plan, we have
Thank you.
accurate numbers, and I like the idea, we know we need to move forward somewhere. I'm not willing to say, let's put a tax and start supporting this. I think we've gotta go all the other routes because young families are really taxed to death. But I know it's a health issue. Also, what people don't understand is if we're gonna make America healthy again, we've gotta, these are some investments we need to make, which will maybe keep them out of the jail system. And, you know, there's lots of advantages to it. But I am still gonna say, I still wanna see the bike park, and I still wanna see Junction City Park raised up, because those are two really important things to me. And they, this whole thing, this indoor, you know, it's gonna bring revenue in, but we need to reach other areas in the county too. You know, I still have to consider that.
I guess, you know, on that, I'm saying again, it would be a referendum tax issue, so the people would decide.
Yeah, right. It would go on
It
the
wouldn't be
ballot.
us,
Absolutely.
it wouldn't be
Right,
us
no.
deciding, so
No.
it would be a ballot issue that
Right.
the people would decide on.
Okay, I don't want to belabor this any longer. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here, and thank you for your hard work. Parks and Rec Committee, and Tommy, thank you.
Thank you for
Good
the
to
time.
see you all. Thanks for your time.
Certainly something for the court to consider and talk about.
You do need to get.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, next up, Humane Society, Kari Q.
Well, shoot, half my audience left.
She'll let you win first, shouldn't we?
Well, I mean, I would like to say I'm super impressed with these reports. It's really exciting to hear of commitments to making the community better. I'm glad I got to see this today. First off, thank you so much for your time. I've got a 2-minute and 43-second video.
Oh,
It's compelling. It's probably groundbreaking, and I'm sure it will win awards at some point.
all right.
Gotta pump yourself up. 2 things to consider while you're watching this. Number 1, there's some really sad, depressing data from 50 some odd years ago. I want you to know, people weren't doing anything wrong. Back then, there were very few outlets and solutions. Euthanasia was really high. So this isn't an indictment on anything that happened in the past. When you know better, you do better, right? So this is basically the evolution of the last 52 years. I also want to note that DBCHS is prominently displayed, but obviously we couldn't do any of the things we do without the fiscal court in Boyle County Animal Care and Control. So I think that's important to note. This is a partnership, and it's also a community effort. Everything we see
Does our
here.
IT have the video?
Girl, he gave me the difficult
Oh,
instructions.
good. Okay, I was worried.
Mouse.
Thank you.
Screen.
Thank you.
Double click.
Awesome.
Okay, are we ready? Let's see if I can.
You followed directions well.
Hey, look.
Oh, looky there.
He didn't tell me what to do when it's over.
Very good.
So we're just gonna leave that up there for now. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have, thank you for sharing this. It's
Absolutely.
excellent. It went by a little fast for me on some screens.
I realized that after it was too
I
late.
really wish you could slow it.
I
Slow it in
will.
slow motion.
I
There
will.
was way too much to digest.
Well, you know what we'll do? I will go ahead and edit it, and I can send you all a link, so you can watch it at your own leisure.
Thank you.
Of course,
But
I did,
can you do it in such a way that it's slow motion?
right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, much slower, yes, I can absolutely do that.
I did have it.
Yeah,
I just wanted to address the amazing statistics and such. Still, we're seeing, even with our community cat program, we're still seeing certain areas of the county have really large populations of cats that are becoming more than a nuisance, actually,
Sure,
to some
sure.
homeowners and such. What can be done about that? I mean,
we are doing everything we can.
Are you taking in cats?
We are taking in ill, injured, and vulnerable cats, yes, absolutely. Keep in mind, the majority of cats that used to come in are the free-roaming outdoor cats. And as you can see, we were euthanizing 1,000 cats a year at one point. And that's not acceptable. We learned the hard way. You cannot bring every cat in. Obviously, during the spring and summer months, we do have a lot more cats in, simply because the population explosion. So kittens, if they don't have a mom, that's something we need to be responsible for. If they do have a mom, we don't mess with it, because mom knows way better than humans how to take care of it. But
Now, are you
I
saying you don't
understand.
pick them up if there's a mom?
No,
Not unless they're sick or injured.
correct.
So that mom cat in my district has 6 kittens, and you do nothing with them?
That is absolutely not true. We offer the free spay and neuter service. Now, everybody can't take advantage of it,
But
which
you've
is
got
why we're
6
lucky to have
kittens.
Cody, who goes to those larger locations. In fact, if you wouldn't care, you can just jot it down and shoot me, some of the places. We're aware, Junction, Paravel, really, you guys, there's nowhere in our county that doesn't have a proliferation of cats. I would ask what would you, we probably shouldn't get into that right now.
Well, no, I'd like to hear what you're gonna say.
Well,
really would, 'cause
I
I've
was-
got-
I was going to ask what solutions you might offer.
We have wildlife in my district, and I'm sure other districts, that are being decimated by wild cats. Many of them neutered, ear clipped, and back out there in the community. It's costing people not only the beauty of seeing God's creations out there, but it's costing them money in terms of things like quail populations, as well as people who've come here and testified and said, would you dare eat this tomato in my polluted by cats that you didn't see our last meeting? And no one in here would likely eat that tomato. And I'm recalling, and you had a slide about it from the state, and I doubt that they've backed away from this at all, on rabies. I'm recalling 26 kids at Georgetown College loving over a community cat, a city cat,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
just loving all over that. And this was back in the day when they got a series of shots in their abdomen.
Well, let's go back to the original. What would you recommend? This is not just Will County, y'all. This is the state of Kentucky. This is the United States. There are, I'll have to look it up, but the most recent census, honestly, I don't remember the exact number. The overarching theme there, though, is there are always going to be way more cats than our households, period. There's no way, there aren't fences on each county to prevent cats from, moving around. But truly, we and many other shelters and humane societies have tried all kinds of things and had no success. So I would ask, what would we suggest?
My first recommendation is any of my constituents who call you and say we've got a mama and 6 babies, that they're all healthy, that you take them in, and,
Okay.
and that it's your mission and your responsibility to do something with them.
I would counter that with, it is not just our responsibility. We provide spay and neuter services for a reason, because of the pet overpopulation issue. This is a community-wide issue, and we simply cannot do it on our own. You know, we've done 500 free spay and neuter surgeries on outdoor cats this year. I don't think we can argue with those numbers when we're dealing with a very small nonprofit, one guy who helps with the cats. This is 100% an issue that all of us need to be involved in.
What are your reserves right now?
Are you talking about our budget?
Yes.
I don't think that I'm going to answer that right now. We
Well,
can talk
it's public
later.
information.
I honestly, I don't know what the reserves are, but I feel like that's kind of inappropriate to ask in this setting.
Well, with
I
all
would be
due
happy.
respect, with the problem we have, I don't think it's at all inappropriate.
How, let me ask you this.
The
How would the budget, I'm sorry, Truly, go ahead.
No, you're
Let's-
fine, you're fine. I was just gonna say, the complicated issue of this is that these community cats are not normally adoptable. So you can't pick them up and bring them in and adopt them out because they are wild. They're not domesticated cats, like, you know, people have cats that live in their house and they're domesticated and they're friendly and, you know, all that. These are cats that live outside in a community and that's where they stay. They're not accustomed to adult, you know, human interaction. So that's a part of the puzzle that makes it unfortunate that we have so many community cats, but yet we can't adopt them out and, you know,
Well, and you know-
help reduce the population.
Let me circle back, Magistrate Ellis. If someone calls and has,
I'm listening.
okay, great. If someone calls and has found a mother kitten with kittens, we don't just say, leave them there. We set up an appointment for them to get fixed. We provide food, any vetting. All we need is somewhere for these cats to stay while we're trying to get them adopted. So it's not like someone calls and we're just like, hey man, good luck. Do what you can. We offer a variety of services to mitigate the problem and make sure the community is getting served in some way. There's simply no way we can round up all the cats. I mean, it's just, it's simply not possible. Were there any other questions?
Y'all have any other questions or comments?
And I'm happy to elaborate at a later date. I don't want to take up all our time this morning, but I do have oh my gosh, we have reams of data we can share down to the tiniest microscopic piece of information. So I am more than happy to meet with you one-on-one or as a small group, and we can really dig into the data. Yeah,
Thank you for the video. It was good. It would help slow it down.
award winning. I will slow it down. Then it will win an award.
Then it would win.
There you go. There
I
you
guess
go.
just as a little bit of an aside, how are things going with you all and animal control and Elias and?
Well, can I put that back on you? What do you know?
I don't know anything.
Oh, okay.
Last report I got, and I've been gone for a week or so,
I'm-
was
well-
that things were working well. But
I was just hoping that Elias had been telling you how great we are. And of course by we, I mean, you know, the organization. When did Elias take over?
about 2 months ago.
Yeah, about 2
A
months
couple,
ago.
3 months, right? Our line of communication is wide open. And I've mentioned this in other settings, but you know, Elias and I have worked together 4.5, 5 years. And we have never had much of a conflict. In fact, we were discussing an unfortunate situation about a dog a couple weeks ago. And we had, you know, we disagreed. But we came to a conclusion that was best for the animal and for our community. I feel very confident about the way we're working together. The fact that Elias is reviewing ordinances, you know, we're gonna hear about the livestock here in a little bit. I think that's also huge. He's been here a while, he knows where the holes are. I feel confident, and I hope that you will be hearing that too from community or
It's good to hear.
animal control.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kari.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you coming, appreciate the video, and thank you. for-
I'm gonna slow that down and get it to you,
Thank
right.
you, thank you.
Thank you.
of course.
All right, next up, Development Corporation, JJ Harris. DBCDC,
DB.
ABCXYZ.
Hello and thank you.
Again, I want to thank the fiscal court and the judge and the staff for their continued economic development support.
Thanks, sir.
Our agenda is going to be me give you a brief update on our activities.
No
since we
video?
last year. No video, no video. I'll be followed by Harold and then by Josh. They're giving you some handouts now
Okay.
and no reference to those. So, one of the big, obviously, the biggest item, economic impact that's going on right now is the the announcement and closure of Cody on November 30th. They were laying off 266 people. So September 26th, we did our fall job fair, and we also did an extra. We had budgeted for an extra job fair in our budget, which you guys graciously approved. And then early October, we got the warn notice that the plant was going to be laying off for 266 folks. We immediately went into a rapid response. We contacted the cabinet. We sent an information email to you all as elected officials to know what was going on and how we were going to handle that. And I'll let Harold talk a little bit more about that. But since that time, we've been working with the Kentucky cabinet. We have sent information to 33 of our known site selectors and industry representatives, marketing. From those results, we have had at least 6 site visits, and we have active projects now. What I mean by active projects is we have engaged companies that have came here to look at the facility. They've toured, we've met with them, we've corresponded numerous times. So one project is Project Viking, that came from the cabinet, and that's an international manufacturing company. What they liked about the area was the readily available workforce. And if you hear that time and time again, we talk about these 266 folks. These are our friends and neighbors. This is an active, well-educated, reliable workforce that comes to work every day and has a skill set that's needed. Tends to be an older, ingrained mentality that is sought by companies around the world. So Project Viking is an engine transmission automaker, low emission internal combustion engine and hybrid technology. So this isn't a battery manufacturer, because that might be something different. So this is an international company that would be in the automotive OEM field. The second, Project Thanksgiving. This is local contacts that we have, but they work with another international company that is looking also. We believe automotive. This is a much more guarded project. Third is Project Ozark. This is out of state, but again, local contractor working with a company that wants to come in and hire workforce. They don't need as big a building, but they do need something with specific heights, something 30 feet or higher. The good thing about our 821,000 square foot Cody facility on 327 acres, it has ceiling heights of 37 to 51 feet, which is really sought after. Fortunately, we don't have any facilities like that smaller in our area. So Project Ozark would be a new build, about 80 to 100,000 square feet, and we've been working with the Industrial Foundation and marketing the Pat Ready site. We've got some big box retailers, Project Frankie we call it, that's looking at the area, and then we've got some smaller retail, commercial, and restaurants that continue to seek information and look for different places. We had a couple other inquiries on Cody. I wouldn't call them projects yet, because they were just, hey, I got a solar company, I want to come in. And then I had another one that said, hey, I got a $30 million idea for affordable housing manufacturing. Would your community support a bond? So that kind of left me up in the air. I'm kind of like, you don't give me any information, I can't find anything out. And so those are the leads that we for me to filter out that information before it gets to you to make it a legit project, there's a lot that goes behind that, so you guys won't see that yet.
Do we have a grocery store yet?
So, one of the Project Frankie, I'll say, is a big box retailer, and they won't tell me what they are.
Okay, all right,
But
fair enough.
as we go, see, we end around these guys too, because we have to find out, oh, we're working with so-and-so, and then we go through their client list, and then we do a lot of background research before we do. So we found that our guy represents all kinds of things
Okay,
on this project, so we don't know where it's at yet, so we continue to work it. But
gotcha.
so we send economic data, we send community data, we send quality of life data. Specifically on Project Frankie, they asked for, hey, what's going on like your parks? What's going on with Center College? What was that investment? What's this 100? I mean, they have researched what's going on in our community now because they bring in quality of life or what they're bringing in. How does that marry up with what this, is this a progressive community? Are they investing in themselves? What are you doing, okay, what are you doing to counteract this workforce that just laid off over here? Is that a trend? So we have to dispel rumors, we have to encourage positive investments and initiatives. And I would say, I'll digress just a little bit. I digress to what you had just talked about, the Parks Department. That is huge. If you were to go the big end, that is huge reinvestment and helps us on our economic development end. And before you do anything, end with us.
Thank
You gotta begin with an end in mind, just as Paula talks about the park in
Yeah.
Junction City. Well, give them a project and then rally the troops. That's what we do. So if you decide to go big end, high dollar on the significant investment on the parks, we can rally the troops. We can point to the project boards and say, you'll be repeating what Center just did with Champions Hall. They had 11 conferences. They had 11 teams here for a conference last weekend, filled every hotel. What was the number one thing we heard from our hoteliers before they were building? Oh, we're not gonna have enough rooms, oh, we're not gonna. They're packed. They're packed. You just can't get a room.
Yeah.
You see it on the internet. Why is Comfort in book? Why can you not get in with it? Well, I'm sorry, the railroad's packed that they've rented out the whole facility for a couple years. So that gives us more credit, so.
And that's not
back to project-
anything new, because they
It's
did
not
that with
anything
the
new.
old Holiday Inn when it
Yeah,
was
exactly.
for
So,
farmers. bankers
Project
now.
Frankie, they know that that's going on, so we give them the 4 housing developments that's going on. And there's 142 lots that are being developed by 4 different developers. There's another 111 acres out beside Cattleman's, which you see now going on. It's it's Host LLC or Center Estates. That's 111 acres. It's going to be multifamily housing, mixed use. And then there's going to be some single family on the backside in the future, most likely. So there's a lot of things that are going on. As long as that investment keeps coming in, that's good for quality of life for us as economic developers to go out and market. And I can say one thing, when you always talk about Boyle County, how bold you are in your investments, how you keep reinvesting, how you're keeping up with the times. We are an economic hub for all those counties. You know it, we see it, and we see it. And I'll tell you, if there was ever an option for that sales tax to come in and fund some of these initiatives, I'll be the first one to stand up and say yes, yes, yes. Why? Is because those other counties that come here and use our resources and spend their dollars here, they should help pay for those resources. That's why a sales tax or a user tax would be good for something like that. I digress. But I go back to the restaurant, retail, and commercial project. There's interest here. Why? Because when you see that labor shed that comes in, that 150,000 population in our immediate area that comes through here, we bring in 9,000 people a day to work here, and they go out of the county. We send 4,000 out, 4,007. So our economy is good. Your investments are solid. Your investments in the DBCDC are good, and we were able to rapidly respond to an unfortunate circumstance with Cody. Now, do we think that's a trend with our other industries? No. Why is that not a trend with other industries? Because they were in the printing business. We don't read as many magazines, we don't take as many brochures as a nation anymore. So when you go out and you look on the walls that were there, New Yorker, Vanity Fair, all the different magazines that were there, newspapers, things of that nature, they just don't do it. Heavily machine oriented in that facility. That's why that workforce is so attractive. They had CNC, they had robots, they had maintenance people that had to maintain those machines. So again, these are our friends and neighbors that have worked here 20, 30 years at these facilities. One time it had about 1,400 employees. They were down to about 360. So there'll still be a small contingent there working through 2025, moving, selling those machines, dismantling those machines. They're just not going to be production operation there. I toured that facility more than a couple times, and it took me an hour and a half. You talk about, I'm not a young guy either. Walking that every day, so
Yeah.
those friends and neighbors that are working there are in shape. I can tell you that. So they're in good shape and they're ready to work. And then with that, I'm going to turn it over to Harold. He's going to talk.
I have one question.
Yes.
And it may be too early to know this information. Do you have any percentage of the people that lost their jobs that have already gained employment?
I'm going to let Harold address those.
Okay,
So what
all
I'll
right.
do is I'll turn it over to Harold, and then Josh, and then I'll come back and answer
Sure.
questions.
Yeah, real quick. I was reading your data when I heard the background of the word hybrid. Now, that was automotive, but is that somehow connected to a vehicle that does both?
Yes.
And I have a reason to follow up with that.
Yeah, so combustion engines is what we're all used to now. Gas, diesel, whatever. Hybrid, of course, they've pushed the totally electric and battery vehicles, which is plethora. And those are really tied to tax incentives. Those tax incentives goes away, so this is
You're reading my mind.
for the most part, most people are not on board 100%, nor can our electric grid handle all the capacity that's needed to run everything electric. The intermittent step by some manufacturers are the hybrid. You've seen Ford with this that have an electric battery golf cart. I'm going to use a gas golf cart as an example. Gas golf cart that charges an electric battery intermittently as you need it. Well, cars, they're putting that technology in the cars too to make the hybrid. So that's where you can get to 40, 50, 60 miles a gallon and not use as much gas, but you have some battery capacity. That is a transition step that most people can get on board with. Incremental steps.
And I'll call it an experiment in Elizabethtown, is waning so severely that 6, 8, 10 months ago, they announced they're not going to build a second facility. You read my mind on some of the data nationwide and worldwide on what's going there. So anything specific to batteries, I would, with all due respect, explore to the nth degree any consideration. Not hybrids, I'm okay. But with respect to battery operations, and there's one just come into Kentucky for the first time, where they're gonna have 1,500 employees.
We'll see.
I wonder.
We'll see. I'll turn it over to Harold, and then I'll be back up.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll start out as far as your question there. The one thing that we certainly want to do is track that. As part of the rapid response and working with the local career office, they'll be tracking those.
Okay.
They're going to be speaking at our next workforce development committee. That's going to be on December the 18th at 8 o'clock. So we should have some numbers there. I can tell you, as far as on Cody, on the day of the job fair, we had about 140 of their employees go through there. And that's about how many employees we talked to through about 3 or 4 different sessions. I spoke to them as part of the rapid response with BCTC. We're talking about education, what are some opportunities possibility, talking about benefits, both rehab as far as for veterans. All those community resources were there, and of course with state resources, talking about unemployment and things of that nature to help them through this transition. We also had them at the job fair, because one thing we noticed too, all their questions weren't answered, and they're not going to be as things come up. So we wanted them back there to join the 38 companies that we had that day. We had about 3 weeks to put this together.
Yeah, it's
and
quick.
so when we say rapid response, we rapidly.
You mean it.
Yeah. And the response too was really good as far as from the companies. They recognize what JJ had just said as far as the employees there. They had employees there 20, 30, even some 40 years that
Right.
have experience. I won't call them old, I'll call them experienced.
Right.
But I guess that's from my HR background. But anyway, they recognize too. And in fact, I don't know where I was talking the other day, and I got a text. Oh, it was at our meeting. Got a text right there. Oh, we've got some. I just hired somebody, or from that. In fact, that was from Center College.
Great.
So
Great.
that's.
I figured it's probably a little too early to really have, numbers, but I just
Yeah.
curious.
And that was one thing I asked them to focus in on too. Yeah. So we had 140 about with 38 employees. Some of those were from Lexington. We had some employers from Berea, Madison County. Of course, primarily you would guess too as far as being in manufacturing. We did have some kind of outside of that. Shakertown even came and they said, we've got some folks that are interested in, maybe doing something a little differently. So, so that was very positive, and of course we'll monitor that and keep up with that. Before that, we had our regular regional job fair. We had that in September the 26th. We had about 400 go through, and that's an estimate. I think that's kind of what we all agreed on. I think we had that many. I can tell you though, of those 400, we had about 140 students, high school
Impressive.
students. They were from Bergen High School, Mercer County, of course Danville and Boyle County, and then Lincoln County. And one of the things that we really try to do is get them involved in exploring different careers and get them in front of employers. We also have the virtual reality simulator that the ad district brings down, and that's always a real popular thing. And we feed them a little pizza as well, so that helps. But,
That's the incentive to come.
It's always good.
But I think as far as one thing that we're really trying to focus in on is this age group and getting them involved. I've been real involved as far as the community partnership with Danville High School, part of the Pritchard grant, getting involved and staying in front of them. This is something that we can help with. So, Josh did pass this out. This right here is just the economic snapshot. Updated 2 of those numbers there. One was the unemployment rate, number 2, and number 8, the poverty rate. All the other numbers stayed the same there. Just kind of, we like to do this from time to time to let you know how things are going in Danville and Boyle County. The other thing is, we've already got our job fair for the regional job fair. That's going to be March 27th, and we'll be out at the showroom. I think I failed to mention on the regional job fair, we had about 50 employers out there. And we could have had probably a few more. Well, in fact, we could have, because we had to turn some away. But when we say regional, it is regional. We get employers from Marion, Lexington, Fayette, Jessamine County. I think we had one from Anderson County. Yeah, we did have one from Anderson County. Of course, Lincoln and Casey County as well.
Judge, Josh is our guru, and I don't know whether we've ever studied this or not, but anecdotally, I'm noticing what's going on with 65 and older population. Can you find data going back at least the 2 years you have here, but maybe even further, the influx of folks out of town, out of state who come here? Because folks, if they're moving here, if they're moving from the north, they're buying a home for about 60% of the cost that they had up in Syracuse, New York.
Right.
This is a real economic opportunity where we don't have to create jobs.
Right. No, I can definitely look into that.
We know they're moving
with
from the west.
population. Oh yeah, anecdotally, yes, I'm definitely aware of that. Harold, did you have anything else to? And if you have anything else to see there,
That'd be great.
yeah, I will definitely look into it.
I'd like to see us attracting them,
Right,
pursuing.
Right, absolutely. I will look into that and see what information I can find, and I'll share it with you all. So what I had to, first off, I would like to thank you all for your support, both financially and otherwise. One of the things that we have been kind of focusing on, and kind of expanding, our services over the last 5 months or so, 5 months since November, is working more closely with small businesses. So I'm pleased to announce that we will be hosting, I believe it's the third page in your packets, the second Doing Business in Danville event. That is December 3rd, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. It's going to be at Centerworks. And so essentially the purpose of this event is to connect new businesses, and we've worked with the city of Danville. Anybody who's applied for a business license, we've mailed them an event. Anybody who's a new chamber member, we've invited them. It's one of the things that's difficult is to get contact information for everybody. There's over 1,000, businesses in Boyle County. We oftentimes, when we talk about our employers, we tend to refer to like the top 40 or so. I've noticed. But so it's kind of connecting with them, both meeting them ourselves, but also allowing them to kind of network together. Because those relationships are often very important. So we will have pizza, salad. You're all welcome to join. I ask that you RSVP so we can plan for it. I think the flyer said November 14th or something, but we'll make an exception. So you can reach out to me or Maury Webb. But yeah, so we're trying to reach all the new businesses. So if anybody watching or anybody here knows anyone who is either already started new businesses, already have their license, or might have in the back of their head that they're thinking about it, they're still welcome to reach out and RSVP. We will have both ourselves, the chamber, I believe the CVB, Main Street Paravel, I believe are both coming. Also Michael Ashcraft from the SBA and Stuart Arnold with the SBDC will all be there to present and share information. So the last page, this is just an example of some of the information that we'll be presenting. We're kind of unique and have a kind of a successful program that I don't know why why everyone doesn't do it. It's fairly simple. But if you're starting a new business, let's say you have a location picked out, we will get all the local folks together that you might have to talk to: fire marshal, codes enforcement, planning and zoning, all in one room. And they will all collaborate, figure out, okay, this is the path forward, this is everything you have to do to make this work. So that's just one example of things we'll show. We do that in partnership with the chamber. We'll also share, there are some new small business incentives at the state level. I also invited someone from the Cabinet of Economic Development, their entrepreneurship department. I haven't heard back from them. I'm struggling. So
And all these
if anybody
folks
has
are gonna
any
be at this event.
yes. Well, yeah, they've been invited. But yeah, so like, there might be presentations from others that I didn't list. It's just depending on who comes. But yeah, everybody should have been invited. So we'll have networking. Obviously, there will be meals available, and then kind of Q&A sessions as well as the presentations. We are also looking to expand it. This is obviously geared towards small businesses, but we've been having some meetings, planning potential event series in the spring, where say we have for if you may have been in business, a small business for 10 years, but maybe you want to learn a bit more about marketing or financial planning, things of that nature. So we're going to try to gear something up to have more regular events, maybe a monthly or bi-weekly, even if we can find enough people to present. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, so hopefully we can find others who are much more experts in more specific things. With that, I'll pass it back to JJ.
Thank you, Josh.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Josh.
We're trying to keep this moving, so I mean no disrespect by running them off the podium.
Oh, I was done. We'll wrap it
So
up.
in addition to all the other activities that we're doing, we've mailed out 230 investor packets to get some of our other business and industry on board. We've also put in foundation grants to AT&T and LG and EKU. So we're also facilitating the EDA property purchases. We work with the Boyle County Industrial Foundation on property marketing, promotion, development, sales, and maintenance. Because once you own it, you got to maintain it, so it shows well. And we're also working on some zoning and floodplain issues. As far as the DBCDC committees, some of you are involved in, we have housing, workforce, marketing, asset development, personnel, and then we have the Industrial Development Council. Of note, as of yesterday, one of the big topics that's being discussed across the state is the cannabis licensing. 36 licenses were issued in 9 different regions. None were ours. December 16th, our region, which is Bluegrass and Jefferson, basically around Louisville, will be awarded. So through their lottery process. They're going to be dispensary, but the focus will not be eat on site. They will really look like pharmacies. So if you go in and you picture, I'm going to go in and get a prescription drug. My thoughts on that is, at a later date, you'll see something that will be more recreational type with food additives and things like that at a later date. They'll figure out that process. With that, that's our presentation. I'm open to any questions that you may have.
It's good. I just want to keep singing his praises. I think he's reaching out to every community. If you want him, he'll come. So, yeah, and he has to. Judge said he do appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate your support. Without your support, we couldn't do what we do.
Thank you.
Well, JJ, Harold, Josh, thank you all for being here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your individual reports, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Yeah,
Thanks.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Have a great day.
thanks. You too. You're welcome to stay, or,
Yeah, I'll have to stay.
okay,
Harold and Josh can go.
okay. All right, Public Works, Mark Gordon. He's coming. There he is.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks, good job.
We're gonna have Mark and Shannon kind of tag team.
Okay, what we're here for is for approval expenses to, for the safety and stabilization of our new acquired property at Fred King. On the safety end of it, it was a manufacturing facility. They had a lot of machines and welders, different equipment in different areas, and when he auctioned everything off, the company just went in there and cut the cords on those machines, left them exposed. Of course, they cut the breaker off, and you got a lot of electrical.
Thank goodness.
There's electrical drops all over the building, or both buildings, that need to be cleaned up. because if somebody goes in there and flips a breaker and you have to go buy one of those bare wires, then you're gonna get electrocuted. We have some, roof leaks that need to be took care of. We need some lighting on the inside as well as outside. They didn't have any lighting on the outside of the building. We need to address at least the heating in the restrooms because according to the forecast, it's gonna be in the 20s here this next week, and we'll start freezing pipes and stuff like that.
There is heat, it's just some of the units don't work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we be wise to drain everything right now?
I've got all the water turned off in the building, but then it's hard to drain commodes and urinals and stuff like that. But if you have just enough heat in it to keep it from freezing.
And considering exposed wiring, do we feel comfortable that that building is 100% secure from kids trying to break in and getting electrocuted?
That's another thing. When he turned the keys over, he had a key to the chain link gate that went around back, and he had a key to the office. The rest of the doors, over time, he said they'd lost the keys to it. So we need to rekey all the locks anyways, because whoever had keys to it at one point, we don't want them coming and going. So all of our doors need to be,
And we've already had a quote for that,
Yes.
and
yeah,
it's already been approved, so.
yeah.
We're already moving in that direction.
So that it is locked. We got a couple roll-up doors that are not functioning the way they should. That's more or less the openers. You have to help them open and shut them. But we were asking for $250,000 to get everything.
Is that what we approved today?
Yes.
We would move that from reserve into a budget line item for that, and then move the cash when it's needed.
Okay, yeah, so, yes, we met yesterday and discussed a little bit of this, and I'll make the motion that we make that transfer.
Okay, is this creating a new line item?
Yes.
Okay, so this is creating a new line item in the budget.
budget and allocating 250,000 up to for renovations.
Stabilization.
Yeah, stabilization.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Magistrate Gay, a second by Magistrate Ellis. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Mark, are we doing a substantial amount of the work ourselves, or are we contracting most out?
You want me to explain that?
Yes, please.
So we got kind of brought to our attention during our audits that the way we built the fleet building wasn't properly advertised and procured. Okay, so if you look at the big project of the fleet building, it was over $100,000. So we need to have bidded out a lot of that. And so that's what we're gonna do with this. We've already got electrical is already out to bid. We're getting ready to do plumbing and HVAC. So some of the work we can do, we don't have to bid out what we're doing, but you gotta look at the total project. The auditor said if it's over 40,000 in materials or whatever, then it should have been bid. So it's better to just be safe and do it the right way and make sure we're covered, because we're
They
gonna
are
have
gonna do a lot of like the cleanup work, like taking down old tin and things off
We
the walls.
have been taking, they had metal around inside of the building, and it's like they maintained into it continuously with forklifts and pallets and whatnot. We took all that off. There was 2 restrooms that were trashed, and we got rid of those 2. One we want to replace, but we did do a demolition and removed all that.
I assume we're on sewer.
Yes, yes, and I had the city come out and we located the sewer main and a manhole that we can access.
So a lot of it they can do,
Good.
but the main things we will have to put out as Julie explained.
And there is one other piece, is Angie, some of Angie's equipment is proprietary to that company. So they will be doing their work, their electrical for those certain pieces of equipment, and that is allowed to do that. So I just wanted to point that out.
And I assume you've already got an insurance contract on it.
Ms. Elena's taking care of that.
So, those are the deals, yeah.
All right, thank you, sir, appreciate it.
You're more than welcome, thank you.
All right, now you can get to work. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, you too. Everybody have a good one.
All right, then, Ms. Shannon, you've got something else.
Well, I have, that's not on here, but it's along with the 250. We'd like to, because we're getting ready to, is it RFP?
We bid out the architectural design.
Architectural for the public safety building. We'd like to move money from the reserve into a new line item for that. We thought 250,000 would be
Get us
plenty to
started.
move for that too.
And we discussed this yesterday as well with the idea that we approved that to occur, but that it not occur until we're ready to expend it.
Yes.
So it can continue to reside in our interest-bearing account until it's actually needed.
Okay, is that a motion?
Make a
I'll
motion.
make that second. I'll second her motion.
Okay, motion by Magistrate Bodner, second by Magistrate Gay. Any discussion on moving 250,000 as needed or when ready for the public safety?
I'm just excited we're gonna move forward with the
Yes,
project
ma'am.
because that will help us all the way around. It's a good project.
All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
And in your packet was the monthly settlement. Present that.
Do you need a motion for this to be approved or just acknowledged?
I think just acknowledge.
Okay. Any
Acknowledged.
questions or comments? Yeah, court acknowledges. Any questions or comments on the October? Thank you.
You're
Job well
welcome.
done.
Thank
Appreciate it. All right, Miss Julie, we're up to you.
All right.
Animal ordinance,
Okay.
animal control ordinance.
So at the last meeting, I believe Magistrate Sleeper reminded me that we need to get some language in our animal control ordinance for livestock and things like that. So I'd like to just kind of go through what we're changing in our, or proposing to change in our animal control ordinance. One is the definitions. We've added, there's some new language in Frankfurt for animal, how you treat animals. So I've added on page 4 an explanation of what dogfighting is. On page 5, I've added descriptions for what livestock is pertaining to, I used a couple city ordinances in KRS to pull that together. On page 6, restraint was not in our ordinance in a way it should have been. So we've explained what restraint is for domestic animals and puppies and dogs. Community cats are exempt from restraint. And if your animal is off the premise, then it must be on a lead or leash. Torture is a new thing in Frankfurt. There's new language for torturing animals, so we've described torture. We've also, surprisingly, this one wasn't in there, vicious dogs. We did have language for vicious dogs, and I'll get into that in a minute. On page 8, we've upped the impound fee to $50. The staff is given the ability to waive the first time. However, if the animals have received medical treatment, vaccinations, then they would need to reimburse for that. Animal control shall pick up all sick and injured animals. Page 9, I addressed dog parks and public parks and how animals should be on a leash and that people should clean up after their dogs. That was not in there. On page 10, we've gotten into the KRS new language of torturing a dog or a cat. explains torturing. It's actually quite disturbing that we have this. On page 12, the new language, cruelty to animals in the first degree, cruelty to animals in the second degree. We have taken out the aggravated animal abuse and neglect because criminal abuse in the first and second degree have stricter penalties. So we needed to add those in. On page, some of these are just little tiny things. Let me get to the next big one. Page 18, a whole section on restraining your animals, how you do that, what is required, how livestock is treated if it's running at large. And Elias has a real problem with horses and cattle and goats running wild in the county. We have doubled the fees for dogs running at large and made those a little more teeth in there because there are some habitual offenders. Livestock penalties on page 19 starts at $100 and goes up to $500 per occurrence. Page 19, vicious dogs, KRS explains a vicious dog and how a dog is deemed vicious, and that is now explained in our ordinance. You have to be 21 years of age to keep a vicious dog. And interesting, we did not have in our language that you were required to keep them in a fence at least 7 feet tall. So we now have that in here. Inspections of boarding facilities, we removed the section on, or the language that said that we would inspect veterinary clinics, because I don't think we need to be doing that. On page 23, you get into fees, what kind of fees, how you get a dog license. You are required to show a rabies certificate every year. On page 25 is a nice little checklist so the staff can readily look and see what the violations are as they go. And that's it.
I move we approve the changes as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Magistrate Gay, a second by Magistrate Sleeper. Any discussion?
I think Julie did a really good job with that. Appreciate all your help.
I don't see that checklist. Is that?
Well, it's on page, are you talking the chart?
Okay, and could,
This.
yeah, it's not in here.
It's not in the
Let's
back.
have it on version.
There's no page numbers on our page. so
Yeah, can we add page numbers so that it corresponds with the table of contents?
It is.
Oh, well, my version didn't have
Okay.
that. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
The new version has it. We didn't
Okay,
get to.
all right, 'cause I was frustrated.
Okay, and yeah, because you were going over a lot more pages than we had in our
Yeah.
packet.
The one question I had, and we may not want to do a first reading today, is Magistrate Sleeper brought up selling pets in parking lots. Do you want to restrict that, ban that? If you do, I'd like to rewrite that in here and present that again as a first reading.
Sorry.
I think I know how Kari feels.
Slide out first. Yes, I agree.
Yes, I do think it's kind of it's problematic sometimes. I can think of a couple occasions where.
I didn't have a specific, I just know that I see them all over the
Yeah.
place, and I just wondered if that was something we should address. I didn't have a particular opinion at this point
Okay.
on it, but it just, I think it should.
I'm happy to spend some time researching it if you all would like to look at that. Typically, you have people coming from out of town with animals that are for sale. Usually there's some kind of designer animal, dog.
Well, and community immunity.
Yeah.
We have no idea where they came from, if they've had any shots, and it's often breeders that couldn't sell the pets
I like
for
that,
some reason, so.
Well, y'all may want more time, I don't know if you do or not, means we didn't have the full corrected
Yeah, I
version.
don't
Y'all
have-
may
that's
want more
fine.
time to look at it
Yeah, I think we.
and
I'll
get
withdraw my
the
motion.
right version. Okay.
Frankfurt has a code of ordinance in their
Withdraw your second.
code of
That was
ordinance.
Steve.
See, oh,
Wasn't
sorry.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, withdraw your second.
I'll second.
Okay.
I didn't see it on
All right.
The
torture.
Frankfurt's code of
Oh.
ordinance, they have a section prohibiting the sale of dogs and cats by retail pet stores and in public places. So, I mean, I know we have a pet store, we might not, that might not be something that you want to do or not, but, I'll pull it up and I can share it with Julie and we can look it up together.
I know they probably don't even have a business license, so
Yeah.
we probably, okay.
Okay, so we've had our motion and our second withdrawn on that,
Thank
and we'll just
Yeah.
do first reading at the next
time,
meeting
yes, and
Okay.
I will research.
and get everybody the,
Yeah.
the
I
correct.
thought it was in the drive, I'm sorry about
Okay,
that.
no problem, we just,
Yesterday.
we have one. We have one. All right, meal reimbursement policy change.
Okay, let me get back to that. Okay, at the last meeting, we discussed the meal reimbursement. I've learned a couple things that will help us make a decision on what language you'd like.
Great.
If you are on a day trip, that was one of the questions, you cannot turn in your meals for reimbursement. It is called a fringe benefit, therefore taxable. So unless you are away from home requiring sleep or rest, you do not get reimbursed for day conferences.
Is that state or federal?
That is both.
Okay.
The Supreme Court ruled that while away from home requires sleep or rest. So you must, and that's on the handout that I left at your place this morning. So, for example, if an employee travels from Frankfurt to Bowling Green for work for that day, and the employee leaves Frankfurt at 7 a.m. and returns at 10 p.m., on the trip home, the employee stops for dinner and rests in the car for 1 hour, then the state agency would reimburse after a travel voucher. So that's an example that they gave for why you might consider. So I think it's just best if we say it has to be an overnight trip and use the state guidelines for reimbursements, which today is in a high rate, breakfast 14, lunch 18, dinner 28. If it's in a non-high rate, it's 12, 15, and $23.
I make the motion that we follow the state guidelines for reimbursement, meal reimbursement.
Okay, we have a motion by Magistrate Gay. Is there a second? Second by Magistrate Harmon. Any discussion? And you said we are going by the rates that are on this page?
Yes.
Okay.
And those change quarterly or reviewed quarterly. So Elena would check every quarter and make sure she's given the right rate.
Okay, and it's not a lump sum amount, it has to be per meal.
Per meal. I feel like that's the most equitable way to do it. If you choose to spend $50 on dinner, you know you're getting 28, you know.
Under whose authority is it reviewed quarterly?
It is under the
Finance.
Finance and Administration Cabinet.
Then to keep it from being bureaucratic, could we make this motion in such a way that it just cycles through so that we don't have to have it as an agenda item?
Yeah, I think that's what we're
That's
doing.
my intent.
Yeah.
That's
That's
okay.
my intent,
All right,
that
fair enough.
it adjusts with the state.
Yes.
Okay.
Just like
Yeah.
mileage rate does,
So,
yeah.
wherever more.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right. Next, I would like to call an executive session.
Do we have 5 minutes?
Yeah. Okay, we're going to adjourn for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Magistrate.
We need a motion, I guess, to
So moved.
have a recess. All right, Magistrate Ellis, second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. Okay, 5-minute recess, and then we'll reconvene at 11:15 with an executive session.
Everybody go to the recess room.
Yes, everybody go to the recess room, and I would like for JJ
Yeah, we're going into
Okay,
executive
so
session.
I'm saying we need to vote to go into executive session for the purpose of whatever.
Yes,
Okay.
we will.
All right, I just want to make sure we set that.
Okay, I need a motion to go into executive session.
I make a motion.
Magistrate Bodner, second by Magistrate Harmon. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Why
All those-
why are we going into executive session?
We're going into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810, paragraph 1, paragraph B. Deliberations on the future acquisition or sale of real property by a public agency, but only when publicity would be likely to affect the value of a specific piece of property to be acquired for public use or sold by a public agency. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. So, can we repeat that motion, please, to return to regular
Make a
session
motion,
with,
we return to regular session,
with
no action being taken.
Okay, thank you. Second by Magistrate Sleeper. All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, we have discussion from Mr. Crowley.
I'm requesting that the county arrange to transfer to the Economic Development Authority a sum of $1,615,000 for the purchase of industrial property on the bypass, known as the Reading tract, the Reading property. And we're going to try to close that by the end of the year, so we need to be prepared. The EDA needs to be prepared to make a wire transfer to make that happen. And we're going to need half of the full purchase price of $3.2 million plus half of what we anticipate to be $30,000 worth of acquisition costs.
Okay, and that would be half split between county and city.
Correct.
Okay,
I'll make that motion to purchase the Reading property in the amount of half of that from the county of 1.6 million and acquisition cost not to exceed $15,000 of the $30,000 proposed acquisition cost
okay, and is that upon request?
upon request.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion by Magistrate Gay, second by Magistrate Ellis. Any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Any other discussions?
I would simply say that we need to probably get Chris in touch with Stephen and Josh Morgan to be prepared to deal with the purchase or acquisition of the right-of-way
Okay.
property previously purchased by the county for the EDA to put a road way and a culvert in across the creek to access the property purchased from Norfolk and Southern Railroad.
Okay.
And one of the questions that we just briefly mentioned over here is that, does that just need to be a right-of-way acquisition, or does it actually need to be a full-out property acquisition?
I would hope it's just a right-of-way.
I mean, you can give someone like an easement for a right of way, for ingress, egress, to certain property, or you can sell that portion altogether. Many people purchase easements, purchase the whole section. You know, it's up to you. I mean, if you just do an easement or whatever, then maybe, I mean, of course, we have to maintain it, but they maintain that kind of.
Yeah.
Why, you know, why relinquish the property when, if somewhere down the road we needed some money and somebody said, well, I'd really want to buy that from you, so I would just, you know.
Right, because it could, they didn't need that anymore, it can revert back to us.
That's right. So I would not give up control of the property.
Yeah, so I would just ask that we
Yeah, I think.
authorize the county attorney and city attorney or, yeah.
Here's a question.
Yeah, JJ, I'm getting to you.
So what, this plat has to be developed, or you cannot develop 77 acres. So the whole purpose of this road access was so you could plat 77 acres for industrial development. I understand you want to keep and retain property, but you're getting a grant from the Kentucky Product Development Initiative for a half reimbursement for the development of this dedicated road to support that 77 acres. So that road then becomes a public way with utilities. The reason why it's 60-foot wide is so you can get your utilities and access. You'll never be able to develop or sell it off. It'll always access that 77 acres. So retaining it, selling it, it's to your benefit, in my opinion, this is Jamie Joe talking, it's to your benefit to sell it and get a 50% reimbursement from the state KPDI, and then it's a dedicated roadway that will go to the 77 acres, and then eventually,
Which will be
it would never be
developed.
reverted back.
And who maintains the
It'll be a city
grass?
right
of way.
Who maintains the road?
It'll be a
City
city
road.
dedicated road and right of way.
Yeah.
It becomes on their inventory,
Yeah, there's,
and then you're not responsible.
there's no sense in not buying it because, you know,
We have a grant to purchase it
Yeah.
from ourselves.
Exactly.
We're gonna use that dollar amount to try and maximize as much money we can as a reimbursement from the KPI. If you
Does
give
it
it,
ever
if you give it,
complicate
I mean,
things?
no,
Like the other end of the county where we're trying to figure out who owns that road and who owns that bridge and how we're going to,
Well, if it becomes a city road,
It'll be
It's a
covered.
dedicated
platted
part of
as a
the
city
plan.
road.
and will they accept that?
yes.
Yes.
All right,
We're in it together. The city and county are in it
I know.
together
I recommend
anyway.
that
We own it together.
We've had some arm wrestling with the city
No.
before.
I recommend we actually sell
Sell
that
it.
once it's surveyed
Yes,
Okay.
and it not just be a
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank
Needs
you.
to be done
Okay.
right.
right away.
Yeah.
And that's what we're working towards.
Okay.
Appraisals being done, and I think surveyed as well by Palmer Engineering. So, again, this is all part of this project to get that railroad property access, so it is more marketable. The city will have to accept that, and there is a part of the purchase agreement with the railroad where the 5-year clock begins to tick when the roadway is completed. So again, you have to complete it. The grant wasn't big enough to cover all of it, so
Right.
next year, we're probably gonna have to come up with a little bit of money to actually do a little bit more work on that road. But right now, we're gonna have materials purchased, rock, a lot of work done, trees cleared, I mean, we're doing a lot of things.
Engineering.
So we'll probably
Engineering,
need a budget estimate come
Just
February.
No,
Come-
yeah.
Yeah, come February, we'll probably need a budget estimate from EDA so we can know what to put in our
We shall give
next
that
year's
to you.
budget. Hey, Shannon,
Yes.
are you okay with everything and
I
making
need
a new
to-
line item and?
I need to just have the proof that I moved cash from the money market to the general fund. And I need a budget transfer
Upon request,
upon request,
yes.
and a budget transfer from, to create a new line item.
Okay, so need a motion to approve Shannon's request.
I'll do that.
Magistrate Gay, second by Magistrate Bodnar. Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
So that
Are
survey
you
is
good?
not,
I'm good.
Okay,
we'll have it,
Supposed to be done very quickly.
because we can't really say the number to transfer.
Well, yeah, that's
The surveyor and
Sun's
Josh
out,
are working
get
out
out
the
there.
details today on the contract.
supposed to be.
So
Did they say, okay,
Josh just said
Yeah.
they were, or Rich said they're working
Right.
on it today.
yeah, this is,
So hopefully,
it's moving fast.
yeah.
That's suffice it to say. But yeah, that's, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, good for, it's good, 201 acres additional, so the EDA is doing what you created it to do, I hope.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now we just gotta
progress.
find somebody to move on to it, right, Jay?
That's right.
All right.
All right. Anything else for me?
I think we're good. Thank you,
Happy
sir.
Thanksgiving.
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to all.
We're broke now, we don't have more money.
Yeah, I'm broke. That's it.
Okay, last but not least, magistrate reports and Magistrate Harmon. We will start with you today.
We'll just do one thing and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and love the people you're with. Because you may not be here next year, or they may not be here next year. I'm down to 0 family, as far as my immediate family. And I know it can happen, and it happens before you know it. But glad to be here. Wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you.
All right, we will pass Magistrate Cullen today
Yeah.
and go to Magistrate Gay.
All right, I would echo Magistrate Harmon's sentiments completely. Then I also want to say that I'm on the Martin Luther King Day Committee, and we had a meeting last night. We've pretty well finalized our plans for this year. And this year, Martin Luther King Day is January 20th, which also is Inauguration Day. And so with that in mind, we're moving the event up in the day so that we will be done by time for the inauguration.
Oh, okay.
So it's January 20th, and it will start with everybody gathering at 9 a.m. at City Hall. Then with the march beginning at 9:15. And this year we're going to hold the event in combination with Center College. So the plan is for it to be a city, county, center college event. So it'll be held in the Norton Center. So the march will be to the Norton Center. And the program with some music in the foyer there as everybody continues to gather, with the program beginning at 10:15 a.m. and concluding by 11:30. And this year we're actually just going to provide some sweet treats in the way of Burke's Bakery.
Awesome.
For kind of a breakfast type of environment as part of the program, along with hot chocolate and other hot drinks, coffee and tea for those that don't like the chocolate or the coffee options.
Miss Paula likes tea.
There you go.
I like sweet tea.
All right, so that's the Martin Luther King Day report, and also the budget that they're asking for help with from the county side is, and the main item of purchase this year is for the long sleeve t-shirts, and the county side of that would be $2,500 for the Martin Luther King Day event in combination with Center College. And Center is obviously providing the facility, and they're paying for the keynote speaker, which is still to be determined, and invitations have been sent out. But they're providing the keynote speaker and some of the money for the food and the t-shirts, etc. So it's kind of a split event.
Do we already have it in the budget, or do we need to?
It's an activities line item, I think.
I think we thought it would go through you.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's how we've discussed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it
I'm
was
just
part of your
wanting to make sure.
package. Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
of sponsorship event.
What is it that Jason calls it? My slush fund?
It's really fun.
Appropriation.
And then, in addition to that, I would like to ask that we adjourn today in memory of D'Angelo Durham, who was a young man in this community that actually happened to be a classmate of my oldest son from Danville High School. He worked at Cracker Barrel for a long time. He was most recently working at DOE and delivered products around the community. And D'Angelo was just one of those guys that always brought joy and lifted you up. And so I think we all need a little bit of big D in us.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes along with what Magistrate Harmon said. But so I asked that we keep his wife Whitney, his young children Kyla and Cade, and his mother Renee Durham in your prayers at this time of year. It makes it, it's hard any time of year to lose a 38-year-old, but it's even harder this time of year, it seems.
Magistrate Bodner shares in your request. She was going to offer that request as well. And I'm very saddened, by the news when it came out earlier in the week. And just, Dee was the epitome to me of a public servant. He always had a smile on his face. He was always willing to help do anything anybody asked him to do. When he was delivering office supplies, and he's delivered office supplies to this courthouse for years. He always went above and beyond to help and do anything that he was asked to do. So thank you for asking to do that in his memory. I think that's a wonderful.
And one of the thoughts that came to my mind about him is that Dee's the type of person that he wasn't famous, but he was famous.
Yeah. He just didn't know how famous he really was.
That's right.
I mean, everybody knew Dee.
That's
yeah.
right.
And
the good thing about him, he didn't wait till he was an adult. He was through school.
Yes. Yes.
He was that way.
Yes. Testament to his parents. Yeah. All right. Thank you. That all your report? Okay. Thank you. Mr. Sleeper.
I would like to echo Magistrate Gay's echo of Magistrate Harmon's Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
This could get long.
Let's go around the table, yeah.
I must say ditto.
Just one thing, Stephanie Blevins mentioned the new committees that the Homeless Coalition has formed, and I just want to elaborate briefly on those. There is because I think, you know, they're requesting membership from the task force to be on these committees, but I think I'll go out on a limb and say they'll accept other applications as well to be on these committees. Just to briefly, there's a basic needs committee, which includes food, clothing, laundry, showers, toiletries, personal needs, etc. That chair is Colin Ray Tier. If you're interested in that committee, reach out to him. A shelter committee, which includes warming centers, temporary housing, permanent housing, shelters, etc. That chair is Jen Gonder. You can reach out to her if you're interested in that. And a case management committee, which includes referrals, case management, harm reduction, addiction, budgeting, mental health, and ID security. It's amazing. One of the biggest problems homeless people have is they don't have any identification, and to get that without a social security number or other documentation is extremely difficult. So we'll be assisting folks in that. And then that is Olivia Cantrell. You can reach out to Olivia if you have interest in that committee. That's it.
All right, thank you so much. Magistrate?
Thank you, Judge. Judge Bottom and I have had several meetings at PCTC, and this is an exciting project. We could go out and spend $1,500, $1,800, as much as $4,000 for steel benches for Constitution Square. I now have, and we've talked about this in here before, probably in our round robin, I now have an estimate for that first prototype, and we need either for the judge to authorize it, or maybe we need a vote, I'm not sure. I think it would be the judge's authorization. That first prototype will be $372.70.
Wow.
That's great.
The exciting thing for me is these young welders are going to be out in the community, and we want to keep them here.
Sure.
So let's excite them about our community by having them, with the authorization of KCTC and their welding teacher, produce that first one, and then make a decision on maybe a half a dozen more. But we need right away your authorization so that they can order the metal, so that we can get it in here as early in January when the new semester starts.
Okay, and they will be contacting Atlanta for a PO?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay,
right.
all right. So we can get that done through the PO process.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get with Atlanta. We didn't really discuss it today, but there is a bit of separation, financial anxiety with Mercer County with the joint jail. I think finance might know more about that than I do.
That's right. Yeah, it's still a work in progress, and everybody, if you haven't, I'm sure Julie can forward the email we received from Mercer County. You know, we discussed this before, and we authorized an amount to be sent back to them out of the restricted jail account. And they're, man, my voice is going. They're disputing the amount, and so I think there needs to be some more research done.
And we're getting a meeting together.
Yeah, and some digging to bring that to a resolution. But yeah, yesterday, Jailer Wolford and Julie and I met, and Shannon, and had some conversation about that issue. And so there's work to be done, but you know, we feel like we can eventually come to a good resolution.
Next, please get out and take a look at the Crawford House if you can sometime over the holidays. It's just an extraordinary restoration. There's not a brick there in that wonderful building that has not been repointed. They are, with the approval of a Heritage Council, they're putting in a restroom in the back of the building. All kinds of interesting discoveries along the way. And the judge and I are working to push as quickly as we can to get the 4.5 acres that we relented to the state years ago, to get that back in our control so that we can make that a county park. So hopefully sometime in January we're going to be meeting, maybe even December, meeting with the state finance to try and get that back. Hallelujah, if you have not been out Perryville Road, while I'm not 100% happy with the aesthetics of long patches of pavement, you will not jar your teeth and have to go to your dentist anymore. It's remarkable how well they've done.
Wonderful.
I'm very concerned with a response email that I got that seemed to say, don't necessarily think that come July will do the job that we told you that we would do. Did you get a copy of that?
I haven't seen it.
I will be happy to send you a copy. Because I was able to meet for 8 or 10 minutes with Secretary Gray at our CAECO conference, and I assured him that they would be hearing from us, as the judge had ordered me to. I told him that they'd be hearing from us come January and every month until we get the entire thing done as they planned. So we've gotten a pushback on that, but stay tuned. We have these wonderful new maps, and I'm wondering, is there any reason that we might not want to see if Danville High School and Boyle County High School might want to have the old ones? Because to glance at them, nobody's going to know, you know, they're different. Well, let's just consider that, because that'd be kind of cool in one of the hallways or something to have the old ones that just look identical to these. Just a thought.
We can ask.
Folks, the first week of January, or no, December, celebrate the first anniversary of Chick-fil-A. Did you folks hear that up there, Chick-fil-A? It's, I think, December 6th that it first opened up. So a little advertising for Chick-fil-A out there. They're a great new member of our community. And then finally, I have some personal circumstances. I will not physically be here on 12/10, but Tina and I have talked about it, and I'll figure out somehow to get it on this or this and be participating. Thank you, Judge.
All right.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mr. Dillis. You got something?
Oh,
We're just discussing it.
so I enjoyed going to the CAECO event, and this lady presented really good. Made a good presentation on balancing engagement and legal risks. Tom was there when I was there, asking lots of questions, which was good. I don't think Tom was the only one asking me lots of questions. There's others, and I don't think she really got through her whole presentation. So I emailed her, and she sent me the presentation. I'm going to review it, because I think it's something probably I needed to actually sit down and go over you guys, like have a lunch or something like that.
I think it'd be a great idea.
And go over all that, because it's very interesting about, you know, what opens things up to open records. You think, you know, you have something on your, you know, how now your personal phone, depending on what you post on Facebook or whatever, it potentially could open it up to an open records request. So
It's a good meeting.
it was really
Good.
informative, and I'm glad that they forwarded it to me before I even got back to Danville. So it's a good. So I just haven't been able to go over it fully. So I'll go over that with you guys after I review it further.
And you're buying lunch.
I said something about we can have it.
You're gonna cook and bring lunch.
Maybe we could do something. We'll talk about that. But I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. And I've read some stuff on social media or whatever. You know, some people aren't going to Thanksgiving this year with their families because of they're mad about the political, you know. And I would just say, hey, everybody, put it aside for this day. Family's important, and just put it aside because that family member might not be there next year. And just don't talk about it for just a couple hours, you know, and just enjoy the good food and you know, your family. So that's what I would suggest. I don't know if you're gonna do it, but anyways, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Mr. Boner, I did not skip you on purpose, but I thought I heard him talking and he had something he wanted to share.
Oh, I did have one more thing.
So I'm gonna come back to you.
It's just, all right. So I don't know if it's already been, but happy 50th anniversary.
Oh,
Sunday. Well, it's actually Sunday.
The celebration.
I know the celebration, but I didn't know.
It is October.
Oh.
But we couldn't get my son up here till
okay.
November for Thanksgiving, so then they put it on.
We're already working on 51, so.
Yeah,
okay.
we're working on 51. We're a good month in. So.
Okay, well, congratulations.
All right, thank you. All right. Junction City Matters meeting December 2nd, 5:30. That's Monday night, and we're working on our 501c3 status. And still have good attendance, and everybody's we're getting ready to really take off now that we, with the help of JJ, Mr. Harris over there, it's really helped us get on board with what our purpose is and what we need to be working toward. And so we've got those goals. We're gonna start listing for this year, like the party in the park, the things we're gonna do this year so that we can go to the businesses and see if they wanna help support us. Because the ones that I've talked to last year said, we've always wanted to do something in Junction, but nobody's ever asked. So I thought, okay, we can do that, we can ask. So we're really getting on board and really going well. I thank Brittany Kaufman for agreeing to step up and be ahead of it with me, with us working together and assisting. And then we're all gonna go, a bunch of us Junction City Matters are gonna go to the Boyle County Board of Education on December the 10th at 7 p.m. at Boyle County High School. We can't get a BG1 from the school system. If we don't get the BG1, we cannot complete what we do have to do. We can't pull the pavilion down. We can't do it till we get a BG1. So we've kind of stalled out.
What is a BG1?
Building and Grounds 1. It's a form from the state.
Oh, okay.
But the school system has to start the process. Then it has to go to the state. So we're wanting to expedite the process and get this on board. And I've already talked to Miss Elliott and some people about getting this process expedited to, we're talking about putting an amphitheater there that will help join their educational activities from the school uses it all the time. If they could get a little amphitheater there, we've got so many big plans that will, expand the learning education into the park. So we've got a lot of good plans and we've got a consultant who's helping us with that. So real excited about that, but we need a BG1. I've been saying for 6 months now. So it's time to have action. We're gonna do that. I did have my 50th anniversary and we enjoyed it, and you will see pictures with cake all over my face because 50 years ago I smushed it in John's face, so he waited 50 years to get even with me. And I said, don't you dare do anything. I said, just a little bite. Well, he smeared it all over. So you'll see those pictures, and I'm like, revenge is coming. But anyway.
Oh, that's 75.
Yeah, there you go, 75. My Rebels didn't make it all the way, and my heart's broken for my grandson. And I was just so worried about him, and he's doing great. And the other players, it's not a one-man game. It's 11 with 70 people with all the moms and dads. So nobody lost the game. We all lost the game, but it's what they've learned along their journey. And I was saying, I wanted him to have 4 rings like Avery. And that somebody said, Maddie's boyfriend said, he's got 3 more than most everybody in the state. Said, what are you talking about? So yeah. So I said, it's my son told him it's a learning experience and learning how to take that loss and use it to better you as a person. So I like that. I do want to remember D'Angelo because he was with my son playing the majors and all-stars, and we saw him all the time, and all these years of his life, he has seen me. He has the biggest smile for everybody, and he has a big heart. He is the epitome of Christian love to me because he just radiated love. And so that's why I asked, like you did, to remember him when we adjourn. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and I hope you enjoy your family and forget politics because family's more important. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, Julie?
Just a couple, just to kind of keep you in the loop. We're going to be issuing RFPs for human resource software, Constitution Square doors and windows to repair those. That's in the budget. Plumbing, HVAC at the Government Service Center, architectural services at the Public Safety Building, and fleet. So those are all the projects that we'd like to let before the end of the year for outfit. ARPA funds, I'm still waiting to hear back. We have about 105,000. Still waiting to hear back when we can drop that down and get that allocated. The 250th kickoff meeting for our semi-quincentennial celebrations here is December 5th. I think you all should have gotten a letter, 5 to 7 at Intercounty RECC. The only other thing I have is La Cosa Nostra is offering a free Thanksgiving meal, starting at 1:30 on Thanksgiving Day for anyone who is alone or needs to or wants to go eat with local citizens.
That's a wonderful, wonderful offer. I saw that yesterday.
That is very generous. Julie, could you maybe mention the software system, the Gov and?
GovOS?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they've been working with the tax administration office. It will be implemented, as far as I know, before taxes are due in April. So we'll have our new system up and running. I have talked to Jackie and Susanna. Really, we're gonna have to, at some point, go to the city and explain to them what we have and do some public education, because the owners will have to go, business owners will have to log in and set up their training, so we need to be working on that, but it is proceeding. They are building the framework, they've gotten all their forms, and they're working on getting those built, so it's happening faster than I ever thought it would. So we should have it up and running by end of the first quarter of 2025, so it's kind of exciting.
That's very good.
Lexington Avenue is also having turkey on Thursday. They're serving that. I think they do that every year.
Nice.
All right, close us out. I have a couple of cards here that I want to share with the court. The first one is a thank you card. It is from the Stuart Powell Cadet Squadron, the Civil Air Patrol. Thank you so much for your continued support of Civil Air Patrol, and all the cadets have signed the card, so I'll be glad to share that with you all. Lay it here, whoever wants to look at that. We also have a thank you card from Susanna and her family. Thank you for the beautiful gift in memory of my sweet mama. Your kindness and thoughtfulness meant so much. Thank you, Susanna and family. So that was in the recent passing of her mother. Saturday is Parable's Small Town Christmas. So all day long, events will be going on in Parable. Come on down. Shops will be open. There'll be a new candy sweet shop open in the Main Street Parable Museum building. The parade, the county fiscal court does have a float. So anyone that would like to ride on the float, be at Parable School.
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah. So we'll
go through Junction.
We'll have a float ready. Believe the parade, I'm not going to tell you because I may say it wrong. It's on Facebook. Look it up. Main Street Parable. But be at Parable School to get on the float if you want to come and ride on the float. Tuesday, December the 3rd, KYTC is holding a meeting at on the Highway 52 Safety Project at, I can't think of the name of the church.
Hedgeville Baptist.
Hedgeville, thank you. Hedgeville Baptist Church. So anybody that would like to come out to that. It's from 5 to 7. And then just a reminder that our last fiscal court meeting date has been changed to December 19th, which is on a Thursday. So just want to make sure everybody gets that on their calendar for Thursday.
December 19th.
And other than that, that's all I have. So I will ask for a motion to adjourn, and we are going to adjourn in memory of D'Angelo Durham. D. It's hard to get that name in your head when you're going D. Motion. Master Bowser. Second. Master Gay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. We are adjourned.
What's the date of the terrible